Our guest on the story is Amalendu Misra. He's a professor of international politics at Lancaster University. Thank you so much for agreeing to speak to us on France 24. Baluchistan is one of those cross-border regions. There's Kashmir, Basque Country, for example. This one of these regions that have separated. Can you tell us about how that separation occurred and what the real the issue now is in that region in 2024?
Hi, good afternoon. In first place, these are remnants of what you may call the colonial division of Iran and British India at the time. So these are borderlands, as you rightly pointed out, and they happen to be inhabited by groups of tribes and ethnicities who are not necessarily aligned with the central state, either in Iran or the central state in Pakistan. So both Iran and Pakistan have got two separate Baloch-dominated provinces. The one that is the Iranian side, controlled by the Iranian side, has got a majority of Sunni population in a state that is Shia in nature, and that is the reason why there has always been tension between Tehran and Sistan-Baluchestan, that is the Iranian part. So if you look at the Pakistani part, it is so far away from the Pakistani central government that it is not hasn't received the developmental aid, and to problematize it, the people of Balochistan have never seen themselves as part of the Pakistani state as such. So there has been a nascent freedom movement, independent movement starting from 1947 onwards, the very time when Pakistan came into being. So these are the two areas which have been very remote from the Iranian part as well as the Pakistani part in terms of their economic development, in terms of their connection to the central state. So what we have over the years is that people from both sides are targeting each other's government and escaping to their neighboring countries, and that is exactly what we have seen here. Pakistani Baloch Liberation Front activists attacking Pakistani state from the Iranian side, and then vice versa. So that is the reason why we have the challenge that we have there in terms of problems with control, problems with governance, and problems with nationalism.
Professor, are there links between those Baluch communities on the other side of the border? I imagine that they speak the same language, that they have the same culture, but do they have links between them? And what is the end goal for these militants? Is it independence? Is it an independent country? Is it a Kurdistan, if you will?
Well, I mean, they have got cultural ties on both sides, but the narrative that you have in the Pakistani side is different from the narrative that you have in Sistan-Baluchestan on the Iranian side. The Pakistani Baloch are have never given into the submission to the central government, so to speak. So theirs is a full-blown independent movement, and it has become much more problematic in the last 10 years or so because of the Chinese-sponsored Belt and Road Initiative, which has disenfranchised quite a lot of Baloch as the traditional lands, and they don't have access to the seas where they're mostly fishermen on the Gwadar port, that particular area. And so they would like to secede from Pakistan as soon as possible. But the Pakistani state, being a military state and a deep state, it hasn't allowed them to continue along that particular path. So what we have, therefore, are these terrorist movements attacking Pakistani interests. Many Chinese citizens working for the Belt and Road project have also been killed in the past. But if you look at the Iranian side, the interest to break away from the Iranian state is not that strong. Their attempt is to demand Tehran to provide them with developmental initiatives, don't treat them as second-class citizens, as I highlighted a little earlier. The Iranian state happens to be Shia majority, whereas people in Sistan-Baluchestan happen to be Sunni. And very recently, when we had this attack on a funeral celebration at Hamas in Kerman, it was suggested that people from the Sunni majority region have been a party to it. And that is the reason why we see the Iranian state taking the attitude that it has taken. So it is much more complex, but both have different visions. And obviously there is the territory being so porous, being so remote, there is always a cross-border interaction taking place between groups on both sides.
Thank you so much, Professor, for joining us from Lancaster University in the UK. Thank you for answering our questions and telling us more about this remote, at least for us here in France region, but very large Baloch provinces. Thank you.